Initially, in introduction, we'll see that what is meant by the actually parenterals. As per the Greek language, the parenteral is arise as a para means we can say beside or other than, and then entron means inside, intestine. Sorry. So other than intestine, it's nothing but the we can say parenteral. When we are taking the parenterals, the dosage form is reaches to the blood or the systemic circulation. So it is not going through the intestine. So that's why the parental word is taken from the Greek language. Are you getting my voice? Please tell me. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Thus, the parenterals are nothing but the preparation which are administered into the bloodstream or the systemic circulation by the route of intravenous or intravascular route. So they are directly reaching to the your blood. That's why the parenteral preparations are having the 100% viability compared to the other type of dosage forms. So parenterals are having the such kind of advantages. Another thing is that they are termed as a or the considered as a sterile dosage forms because all the parenteral preparations we have to sterile or we have to kill the microorganism prior to production or after the production. Now, what is the definition of parenterals? So, parenterals can be defined as the sterile preparation which are intended for administration under or through one or more layer of the skin or the mucous membranes. So, this is the definition of your parenterals. Or we can, in another language, you can say that these are the sterile preparation which are intended for the administration into the blood circulation other than oral routes. Then what are the advantages of the parenterals? So parenterals are having the versatile advantages compared to the other type of dosage form. As we know, when the any kind of patient because of the any serious kind condition is suppose it is unconscious and it is not able to administer or the take the any kind of dose through the oral cavity. So in that case, this is the parenteral is the we can say one choice of route for the administration of the drug to that patient. So many patients are there, they are not taking the oral administration of the dose. So in that case, parenteral is the we can say alternative way for the administration of the drug to the patient. Another thing is that your parenterals are most probably free from the bacterial infection or the pyrogen because while preparation itself there is a step of sterilization of your preparation. So after the preparation of the we can say sterilization process, so you are killing all the microorganisms and your total preparation is free from microorganism or the pyrogen. Then there is the low toxicity as compared to the solid dosage form because when we are administering the dose, so we can say that the very small amount of dose is required as well as we are giving small amount of dose to the patient. That's why toxicity is a little bit less compared to the solid dosage forms. Then there is the 100% viability I have already told you. Then there is no chance of missing of the dose when we are administering the dose. So at once we are giving the dose. That's why there is no chance of missing of the dose. And there is a course of injection or the course of the total medicament is already decided. Now the disadvantages. The disadvantage of parental dosage form is that first thing is that it requires the you can say costly production process because while preparation of your dosage form we have to maintain the required conditions. So in further slides we will see that which kind of environmental conditions we require because parental preparations we are administering directly to the bloodstream. So it should be free from pyrogen, it should be free from foreign particle. So to avoid all those things, we have to maintain such kind of condition. So first thing is I would like to tell you that so the production process as well as the we can say requirements are we can say versatile compared to the other type of dosage forms. So strictly we have to maintain that all the conditions. Then it required the trained person for the administration because while administration of the injections or the we can say intravenous type of preparation like saline, so in that case we require the trained person like physician, nurse. So with the help of these people only we can administer the your dosage form. So in case of oral dosage forms, so self medication is possible. Self medication means yourself you can take the your capsules as well as the tablets. Then there is the pain is associated with the such kind of administration of the injection because we are pricking the needle. So in that case, so patient as well as the child or the geriatric patient will feel the lot of pain, and most of patients are we can say having the hesitations as well as the we can say they are having the fear about the administration of such kind of injections. So they are preparing oral dosage forms compared to the your injections. Another disadvantage is that parental preparations are highly risky compared to the other type of dosage forms because when while administration of the dosage form, suppose there is a little bit mistake, so it may cause the we can say serious problems with the patients. Then cost of production is already higher. I have told you. So another disadvantage is that we cannot terminate the administration of the dose because suppose if you are taking the example of your uh, ointment. Suppose you have applied ointment on the skin, and after some time, suppose you are feeling the irritation or you are feeling the uncomfortness. So in that case, you can terminate the administration of that dose just by washing out that preparation. But in case of injections, once you have administered that dose, you cannot remove that dose or you cannot terminate that applied dose or administered dose. So once it is administered means it is reaches to the bloodstream. So after a particular time only it will exit it from the body. So here when suppose by mistakenly we have added any time any other type of dose or the wrong dose, suppose we have administered, so in that case we have to face the lots of toxicological or the serious type of problems. So this is the biggest disadvantage of the parental preparation. Now, what are the various routes of administration? As I have already mentioned that this route is given, these parentals are given by the other than oral route. So here there are the various types of we can say administration routes are there. I think in first year you might have studied in anatomy physiology regarding the various routes of administration of the drug. Especially for the parental preparations, we can administer them through the intravenously, through the or inside the vein, then through the intramuscularly or inside the muscle, we can administer the, your parental preparations as well as subcutaneous route is also available. Then intradermal route is also available. Other as well as other routes are also available. This is the I have shown you the scheme how the we can administer the your dose. Now intramuscular injection. Generally, in case of adults, intramuscular injection are given into the upper as well as outer portion of the gluteus maximus. For the childs or the small patients and some particular type of adults, intramuscular injections can be given into the deltoid muscles of the shoulders. Then, generally, we are using the 22 to 25 gauge needle for the administration of such kind of dose, and generally with the 90 angle we are administering the dose, and most of time we are giving the 2 ml dose for the patient. Then intravenous type of injection, it means directly into the vein. So it is the fast acting route compared to the all type of your routes. Then it is used in the emergency cases as well as we can give by this route a large dose of the solution like saline or the electrolyte replacement therapy we can give by this route. Generally, we can give the 1 liter of the dose by this route, but it requires little bit time. As well as the angle of administration of the needle should be 50 to 20 degree. Then subcutaneous route is there. It is administered used for the administration of the small doses of the your preparations or the doses, as well as it have the longer onset of action. It means it will take little bit time for the action of the drug compared to the your other type of preparations. Then it is administered with the 45 degree of angle. Then the needle is used for this administration purpose is 25 to 26 gauge needle. Generally, only 1 ml or it should not be exceeded than more 1 ml. So 1 ml dose is sufficient for the subcutaneous dose or the route. Then another routes are there, that is the intracardiac injection is there. Then intrathecal injection is there. So depending on the situations or the when there is the serious conditions, so in that case we can have this kind of routes. Generally, intracardiac means directly into the heart or the muscles of the your heart. We can give the directly injection. So whenever there is a sudden attack is there to the patient, in that case we can give such type of injection. Then uh, intrathecal injection is there. It is given into the sub, subchoroid place of the surrounding the spinal cord. This route is used for the spinal anesthesia purpose whenever we require for the surgeries. Then dural injection is there, as well as the intra articular injection is there directly into the artery. So then intracerebral injection is also there, that is for the brain purpose. So these are the various routes we can give, or through this route we can administer your parenteral preparation. Now, general requirements of the your preparation or the manufacturing of your parenteral preparations. Generally, we require the vehicle, that is the most important you can say ingredient of your parenteral preparation. Then as well as we require the some additives if it is required. Most of time we are avoiding the additional additives in case of parenterals, because there is no requirement of viscosity enhancer, there is no requirement of we can say coloring agent, sweetening agent, flavoring agent, as well as the coloring agent. So these all generally we are avoiding only as per the essential requirement is there. In that case only we are adding the additives, because all the ingredients are reaching to the bloodstream. That's why there should not be any kind of problems with your blood or the components of the blood. And most of time your added ingredients may have the reactive actions, or they may cause any kind of problem with your blood structure or the cells. So in that case, to take care or to avoid the such kind of problems, most of time all the manufacturer will try to avoid the additional or the extra ingredients. Then, regarding the containers as well as the your emulsifying agents. So in this case, we are using the plastic as well as the glass type of container. Most probably we are preferred here. Nowadays, only high class plastics we are using generally for the your intravenous or the large scale or the large volume parenteral purpose, like your saline solution purpose. Most of time we are using the class 1 glass or the high quality glass for the parental filtration purpose. And then another parameter is the tonicity contributors. Generally, what is the tonicity of your preparation? That is one also important one. I think in the first year or second year you might have read about the tonicity as well as the methods of adjustment of the tonicity. So in case of parental preparation, so the tonicity is very much matters. Your preparation must be isotonic with your blood. Otherwise, there might be a causes of the destruction of the blood cells when your tonicity is not adjusted. Suppose your preparation is not isotonic, then surely red blood cells may get destructed because of the such kind of preparation. So in that case, we have to maintain all those things. Then only we have to go for the production purpose. Now, the what kind of vehicles generally we should prepare and what should be the condition of that vehicles. Generally, we are using the water for injection as a vehicle. Water for injection means what? Water which is already treated and it is made free from bacteria as well as it is made free from other we can say soluble salts from that. Then that pure molecules of that water, when we are preparing, then that water or the distilled water, we can simply say that water we are using for the preparation of your parental preparations or the liquid preparations. So that is called as the water for injection. Generally, it is containing only the water molecule. There is no any added material or there is no any, we can say, soluble salts or the metallic material. So everything we have to avoid and then only we have to use the pure water. Then uh, that vehicle or that water must be free from pyrogen, must be free from bacteria. So likewise, we have to use the such kind of water if you are choosing water as a vehicle. Sometimes we can use the bacteriostatic water for injection also. Actually, the water which is sterile uh, by the various methods, and in this case we have killed the microorganism. Then that type of water is called as the bacteriostatic water. Then sometimes we may use the some co-solvent along with your main vehicle to increase the solubility of your drug. Most of time we are using the pure solutions of the your your liquid parental dosage form. So in this case, your drug as well as excipient must be completely soluble. Then it is called as, we can say, uh, solutions for the parenteral administration. Generally, we are using the ethanol, glycerin, propylene glycol, polyethylene glycol as a co-solvent for the preparation of your parental solution. Then, whatever the conditions I have already told you regarding the vehicles, then it should be free from the, we can say, pyrogen, bacteria, as well as your vehicle or the water. Suppose you have chosen, then it should be free from the other kind of additives. Okay. Then suppose next component is the stabilizer. So what is the stabilizers are there? These are the agents we are using to stabilize your preparation. Generally, we can say antioxidants are there. They are helping to avoid the oxidation. So in the another way, we can say indirectly they are protecting your preparation. So they are called as the stabilizers, as well as the various preservatives which are we are using to kill the microbes. So in case of we can say multiple dose container preparations, we require to add the stabilizers or the preservatives. Then whatever the stabilizer or whatever the antioxidants as well as preservatives we are adding into your preparation, so they should have the, we can say, good stability action, as well as they should not react with the your drug. So that is the important. Then wetting as well as the suspending agent as well as the emulsifying agent. Suppose instead of solution, you have prepared the suspension or emulsion for the administration purpose through the parenteral route. So in that case, whatever the agents we are adding to stabilize your suspension as well as the emulsion, so that agents are nothing but the, we can say, your suspending agent, emulsifying agents we have to add to prepare the suspension as well as to the emulsion. So in that case, that all the agents should match with the your body fluids. They should not interact with your body fluids, as well as they should have the, we can say, very small particle size in case of suspension, as well as it should not cause any kind of problem with your drug, because ultimately when it is reaches to the blood circulation, then we cannot withdraw that dose or we cannot take out that all the administered preparation. So in that case, prior to administration, we have to think about its physicochemical properties, whether it is having the ability to develop the suitable as well as the stable suspension, or whether it is having the ability to prepare the stable emulsion. So, like these things, we have to think about the your addition of the suspending as well as the emulsifying agent. Then buffering agent, whatever the buffering agents we are using to avoid the changes in the pH, that buffering agent should have the good stability, as well as it should have the very good role to maintain the required pH throughout the life of that product. Generally, acetone, citrates, phosphates, such type of buffers we can use as a buffering agent. Then antioxidants, whatever the antioxidants we are using like EDTA, formaldehyde, sodium bisulfate. So all those things, whatever when we are adding, so we have to confirm about their purity as well as their role, whether they are having a good antioxidant role or not, whether they are totally or the complete free from other ingredients or not. Then antimicrobial agents we require to add into the parental preparations. Generally, they are we are adding them for the prevention of the development of the microbes. One thing I would like to tell you here that only into the multiple dose container we have to add the preservative, and in case of single dose container there is no need of addition of the preservative. Why? Because single dose container, for example your ampoule is there, for example your saline solution is there, these all the preparations when we are preparing, so in the production process we are sterilizing them at the last. It means there is a single container and that container is broken when it is required to use. Till the utilization they are not getting break. So like ampoule, when it is required, doctor used to break down that ampoule and they will measure the dose and then they will throw out it because it is having only single dose. So that type of preparations which are containing the single dose, so that type of containers we are using at once, and next time we are not using them, only one dose is added, and when we are using that one dose, after that that container we are not using. So simply we can say that in such case we should not add any kind of preservative. Instead of the preservative, that kind of containers we are sterilizing using the various sterilization methods. Generally autoclave we are using to sterilize such kind of single dose container. Once we have sterilized them with the help of autoclave, so whatever the microbes suppose present inside that container, they will get killed. So container are sterilized when they are filled. After the sealing of that single dose container, they are processed for the sterilization, and after the sterilization whatever the spores, pyrogens, or whatever the microbes are present, so that will be totally killed during the sterilization process, and that container will be opened when it is to be required for the utilization. So at that time it is that dose will be taken by your physician and it will be thrown out. So in that case there will not be exposure of that product with the environment. Immediately they will be withdrawn that dose and that dose will be utilized. But instead of a single dose container, suppose we are thinking about the multiple dose container. So in case of multiple dose container, we are using the wires. So in that wires, many times we are breaking the injections and we are many times removing the dose for the injection purpose. So in that case, so many times your dose or your container is exposing with the environmental conditions, because we are administering the needle, so that needle may be infected. So many times we are pricking it inside the that vial. So any one time there is a chance that your dose may your product may expose to the environmental condition and microorganism may be developed. So to avoid the development of that microorganism, we have to add the antimicrobial agent. Because suppose we are thinking that why we are not sterilizing it, suppose we have sterilized that preparation also, then after that what will happen? Suppose we have not added the antimicrobial agent or we have just sterilized it, then for the utilization purpose of that doses, there are containing the number of doses because it is called as the multiple dose container. Suppose that vial contains suppose 5 to 6 doses, so 5 to 6 times it will be pricked by your physician. So in that case, when they are getting pricked, so microorganism may get entry inside your product. So it may cause the problem in your dosage form. That's why we have to add the antimicrobial agent. So many times, suppose it is exposing to the environment, so there will not be any kind of problem because it is already containing the antimicrobial agent. So listen carefully that antimicrobial agent is added only into the those parental preparation which are used so many times, like multiple dose containers. Then regarding the tonicity, as a in early classes, I think you might have learn about the your tonicity and its contribution. Generally, there are the, you can say, several problems may occur if you are not preparation, you are not maintained required tonicity of your preparation. As all of you know that your nasal as well as your eye drop as well as your parental preparation must be isotonic. So to maintain the isotonicity of your product, there are the several methods. Generally, sodium equivalent method as well as the borax method we are using to adjust the tonicity of your product. If you are not maintaining your tonicity, then surely your breakage of the cells surely occur. So suppose sometime your preparation may become hypotonic or the hypertonic. In case of hypotonic, when we are administering the hypotonic solutions, then the your red blood cells will absorb the environmental fluids and it will get swell. Because of that swelling, that red blood RBCs will get burst. So such kind of bursting condition is occurred when we are administering the hypotonic solution inside your bloodstream. If your solution is hypertonic, so the tonicity is suppose higher, so in that case what will happen, the such kind of injection after when we are injecting, so the RBCs will release their own fluid from the inside and they will get shrink because of the hypertonic environment surround them. So in that case we have to avoid the such kind of problems. So by using the so many methods, we can adjust the tonicity of your preparation. Generally sodium equivalent method is there, as well as the freezing point method is also there. Then other type of methods are also there for the administration or the adjustment of your tonicity. Now the containers as well as the closures. As I have told you that we are administering this parenteral preparation inside the blood. So in that case, whatever the containers as well as the closures we are using, so that should have the good quality because they should not release their own material inside your product. Because suppose you have stored your product inside the such container like plastics and they are having the suppose low quality, what will happen after particular time, that plastic will release their own material inside your parental preparation, and when administering that parental preparation to the patient, that material will also go with your product and it will reaches to your bloodstream, and so many times it may cause the serious kind of problems. Or sometimes your container may react with your product and it will form the another product, or it may cause the any kind of, you can say, toxic type of substance may be developed because of your containers material. So while choosing the materials for the containers, so we should think about their we can say safetyness also, as well as the while closures we are choosing, whatever the closure material is there, today we are using the rubbers are required for the closure purpose, so that rubber should not, we can say, release inside your parental solution, because while administration it is reaching to your bloodstream. So once it is reaches to the bloodstream, you cannot do anything, so it may cause the serious kind of problems with the patient. As well as whatever the container and closures we are using for the final preparation purpose, so prior to utilization we should make them free from pyrogen, free from microorganism. So here whatever the process we are following for the preparation of your dosage form, so here we have to follow the same process for the cleaning as well as the sterilization of the of the container as well as the closures. Whatever the containers as well as closures we are choosing, so it should have the attractive nature or the attractive look, as well as it should not react with your product. Whatever the glass, plastics, rubber material we are using, so it should have the good quality or the high quality product we should use. Generally, polyethylene as well as polypropylene plastics we are using for the parental dosage pump purpose, as well as class 1 glass or the type 1 glass we are using for the ampoule purpose. Now the pre-formulation aspects of your pre-parental preparations. As in pre-formulation, we have seen regarding the contents of the ionic content of your products like ionic strength. So this is the, we can say, very much important that how much we can say parameters we are saying while preparation of your product. So prior to preparation of parental preparation, we should consider about the pre-formulation factors regarding your excipients, regarding your drug. So in case of reformulation, as we have know that we are determining the physical as well as the chemical properties of the drug. So if you have the idea about the you can say the chemical as well as the physical properties of your drug, so then according to that that qualities, you may you can say maintain your required conditions while manufacturing of your product. Generally, in case of reformulation studies, for the parental cookie case, we have to develop the various standards or various constant of the drug as well as excipients should be find out prior to formulation or prior to start the your production. Then we should determine the kinetic profile of the your drug, how the your drug is absorbed, how the drug is distributed inside the body, and how it is eliminated from the your body. So that all those things are very much important for the your parental preparation purpose. What is the half life of your drug? That is also important. So that half life should be find out. Then your drug studies, what in case of reformulation, we should determine the its melting point as well as the stability of your product. Because in case of parental preparation, when we are going for the sterilization, so in that case we have to keep your product at the 120 degrees centigrade. So in that case, your drug should not get, you can say, burned, or at that higher temperature, your drug must have the stability. Then only we can prepare the parental preparation of such kind of drug. Otherwise, we have to avoid the sterilization process and we have to make the alternative process. Simply, I would like to tell you that whenever we are choosing the drug for the preparation of parental preparation, so we should think about the stability data of that drug, because in case of parental preparation, we have to expose anyhow that parental preparation. We have to expose to the higher temperature for killing of the microorganisms in case of sterilization process. So in that case, your drug must have the, we can say, stability at that higher temperature. So by considering that conditions, evaluation parameter conditions, we should think that whether your drug will be stable at that temperature or not, whether we have to avoid that kind of sterilization process or not, whether we have to choose any kind of alternative process or not. So that all those things we have to think prior to manufacturing of the parental preparation. So here another thing we have to think about your drug is that mechanism of the drug degradation of your drug. Then testing for the packaging material we have to think. So in case of mechanism of drug degradation, we should have idea that by which way your drug is going to be degraded. So in that case, we can make the such kind of alternatives to avoid the degradation of your drug. Once you have prepared your parental formula or the parental preparation, suppose you have idea that it is having the antioxidant problem, oxidation problem with your drug, then you can add any kind of antioxidant agent to avoid the oxidation of your drug. So such kind of alternatives we can make if we have the pre-formulation study about your drug as well as about your excipient. So I think we have already this clear in the pre-formulation chapter. So even though for just for recalling purpose, we have added such kind of slides. Then this is the chart for the your total studies we have to do for the your drug. Then we have to think about the molecular structure of your drug also, because it is administered into the, suppose we are administering to the muscular injection or the intramuscular injection. Suppose your drug is having the, we can say, higher molecular weight material, then it may require the more time for the absorption through the your cell or the through the muscular material. So in that case, it may cause the irritation. So to avoid the such kind of irritation and for the absorption purpose, we should have idea about this molecular structure as well as the molecular weight. Then regarding the color or the, you can say, appearance of your drug, whatever the drug appearance is there, and what is the instability, physical chemical problems of the drug with the other coloring agents or other kind of excipients. Then regarding the thermal analysis, we have to check that like what is the, we can say, melting point of your drug, what is the transition temperature of your drug. So in that case, we will get idea about the its purity also. Then regarding the solubility of your drug, as we are suppose thinking that we want to prepare the solution for the parenteral. So in that case, your drug must have the solubility in your drug. Suppose your drug is not having the good solubility, then we can go for the administration application of the various means of increasing the solubility. Otherwise, we can prepare the suspension also. So in that case, we should know about its solubility also and which kind of solvents are required for the your solubility. Then spectrophotometric analysis also we have to do for your drug to know its lambda max, at which lambda max which is having the absorption, as well as what is the structure of your drug, whether it is amorphous in nature or crystal in nature. So all those things we have to study prior to preparation of the your dosage form. So this is nothing but you can say your pre-formulation study. Then, in which kind of solvent it is having a good solubility, that is also we can think. Then another thing is the partition coefficient. Partition coefficient is nothing but in simply the affinity of your drug or affinity or the solubility of your drug toward the oil phase as well as toward the water phase. Generally, it is carried out by the or it is nothing but the ratio of affinity of your drug into the oil to the affinity of your drug to the water. So it is the ratio of affinities of both phases. So it is called as the partition coefficient. Generally, the partition coefficient of your drug must be a 1, or we can say 50% affinity should be there for your drug to the your body fluids. Then only your drug will reaches to the your bloodstream very fast, or through the organ it will cross. So this is the we can say requirement, and we should find out the partition coefficient of drug prior to manufacturing of the dose or the dosage form. Then light stability. Then light stability means photosensitivity of your drug, whether your drug is having the photosensitivity or not. So in that case, suppose your drug is having the photosensitivity or the light sensitivity, or suppose you get idea that your drug is getting degraded when it is exposing to the sunlight or your normal light or the normal room light. So in that case, we can protect your drug when we are packaging it into the container. We can choose the amber color bottle for filling of your final container. So to avoid the degradation of the drug, we can make such kind of alternatives. Then regarding the mechanism of the degradation, we should know whether your drug is having the you can say problem with the hydrolysis, whether your drug is following the oxidation reaction, whether your drug is having the decarboxylation reaction. So through which means or through which way your drug is getting degradation, we have to find out it. Then only we can develop the stable formula. Then regarding the testing for the packaging components. Suppose we have decided your drug, we have fixed your excipients. Now we have to think about the packaging material. I have already told you that we have to use the high class or the high quality material for the your preparation. So in that case, whatever the class, whatever the plastic or rubber we have chosen for the preparation of the container of your final dosage form for the parental purpose, so that all the glasses plastics type of material we are chosen, that should go for the testing purpose, because it is parental dosage form. If you are thinking about the oral dosage form, there is no need of the testing of the packaging material. But in case of parental, we have to check or we have to evaluate the quality of that container which is to be used for the final preparation purpose. So in that case, there are the several tests are available. That test we have to check, or through that test we have to check the quality of your container as well as the closure. So there is the powder glass test is there, water attack test is there for the glasses purpose. Suppose you are using the glass container, so that two tests we have to carry out to check the quality of your glass. So through the powder glass test, we can find out the contents of your glass. Here we have to crush your glass and we have to test the for its various content. Then another test is the water attack test. So here in this test we are checking the interaction of your water with your glass material, whether it is resistant to the such kind of water attack or not. Then plastic material you have to subject for the various tests. For the plastic container, we have to check for its leakage test. Now, simply leakage test is means what? When we are completely sealing your container, so there should not be any leakage. If there is a leakage, mean what will happen? we are we can say wasting your product, you will lose your product, as well as through that leakage any kind of bacterial material or any kind of foreign particle may easily enter inside your container, and it may cause the infection or the it may develop the growth of microbes. So to avoid that things, we should check for the leakage property of your plastic container, whether your plastic as well as the closure container and closure is having the tightness or not, whether they are allowing the permission of the air from inside to the outside or not. So it should be airtight in simple way. Then collapsibility test is there. In this case, we are checking the collapsibility, whether your material is having the toughness or not. That things we have to check in that test. Then clarity of the aqueous test. So in that plastic container, generally we have to prepare the solution of that plastic container. Generally, for the preparation of that solution, we are dipping their plastic container into the hot water, and after a particular period, we are taking that hot water and we are checking the clarity of that water. Because suppose your plastic is releasing its own content, then that content may release to the your water, and with the naked eye, we can check the clarity of that product. So here we can check, we can see whether your product is safe or not in this particular plastic containers. Then rubbers are generally we are using for the sealing purpose or for closing of your container purpose. So whatever the rubber is there, the rubber is always pricked by the needle whenever it is required, especially in case of the multiple dose container we are using the rubber type of closures. So in that case, so many times we are pricking with the needle, and so many times your rubber is getting punctured. So in that case, your rubber should not lose its material, and it should not adjust to your container, as well as it should not broken down at that places where it is pricked, as well as your rubber should not release its own material inside your solution, as well as your rubber should not get solubilized inside your solution or the container preparation. So here we should think about the safetiness of that rubber, how it is tough, whether it is permeating the air from outside to the inside, whether it is permitting the vapors from your internal solution to the outside, so whether it is permitting the foreign particle from inside to the outside. So whatever the things are there, we have to think. So here there are some tests are given for the rubber purpose. First test is the penetrability test. Second test is the fragmentation test. Third test is the self sealability test, and last test is the extractive test. Penetrability test means when we are pricking the needle inside your rubber for taking the dose, so it should be easily penetrate inside your container. Okay, as well as when that test we have to perform, that is called as the penetrability test. Then fragmentation test means suppose we are pricking the needle with needle, then it should not broken down into the small pieces, and when suppose your rubber is getting breakdown because of the pricking by the needle, so that small fragments may fall down inside your container, and while administration they may choke up your needle. So to avoid that things, we have to carry out the fragmentation test of the rubber. Then self-sealability test is there. Self-sealability means what? When we are removing the needle after the pricking into the suppose we are prick the needle inside the rubber and we are removing that needle. So after removing that, rubber should self seal that all the container. Otherwise, it should not remain that empty space as it is, because suppose it is remaining as it is, then what will happen easily from the outer side, any kind of bacteria or the foreign particle get entry inside your container. As soon as we are removing the needle, it should be totally we can say sealed automatically. So this is the we can say self reliability test we have to carry out for the testing of the rubber. Then extractive test is there. In extractive test, we have to make the you can say water, and we have to heat the your rubber with your water, and after some time we have to check whether the rubber is getting solubilized into the water or not, whether it is losing the some material inside the water or not. So that is called as the extractive test. Then that water we have to add, we can say observe under the we can say in front of the white as well as black background. So this test we have to carry out for the glass, plastic as well as the rubber. Now you just think that this such kind of care we have to take while preparation of your parental preparations. Then only we can say your parental preparations are safe for the administration purpose.